Hey everyone, just have a quick video for you today on the Miku Noodle Topper. So first thing I want to look at, I'm not doing an unboxing for this because honestly, I can show you really quickly. The box really doesn't have much to it. On the inside it was literally just a bag with kind of like all her separate parts, which she comes in just like a couple parts like most of these kind of more budget figures do. So that's why I'm not doing an unboxing for her. I will talk about some of the problems I encountered kind of setting her up and moving her, etc., etc. But first things first, just want to take a look at the box because I know some people really like to keep their boxes and they like to collect them and they like them to look nice. So we have the kind of picture of the figure here with, you know, a fake cup of noodles. And then we have the concept art, which I actually really enjoy. I think a lot of bigger figures might not do this type of thing. And this is purely conjecture, but I'm guessing they don't do it because they might not want people to compare them and be like, oh, the concept art looked better, or whatever. I really like it because it gives you insight into the production process. And when I'm enjoying things on a deeper level, I want to know more about their production, about who made them, etc., etc. And then more information on the figure and, you know, the company. We have Hatsune Miku on the top, and then I don't think there's anything on the bottom. Oh, same thing on the bottom. In fact, yeah, the exact same thing. I'll just kind of put that in the background. And now we'll take a look at the figure. So the price point for this figure is roughly about $20. I say roughly because I don't believe there is a like super official sales point over in the US from the producers. Usually it's secondhand, so it's people who, you know, find the figure, win it in a prize machine, something like that, then they sell it on the secondhand market. That's also why there won't be any links below. But for $20, we know it's a budget figure. We know kind of that we're going to give some more leeways to things like paint job or maybe sculpt or the overall quality of the build. But with all that taken into consideration, let's actually take a closer look at the figure. So one of the first things that I want to point out, I said I'll put the box in the background, but bring it back for just a second, is kind of the differences between the concept art and the figure. They're pretty spot on, honestly. I think the pose is, you know, ever so slightly different, and I think her face is a little bit more expressive in the concept art, but I also think they did a really good job, and I'll give you a closer look here in a second. I think they did a really good job at transitioning that expression onto a figure because it's so emotive. That's a pretty hard thing to, you know, sculpt. It's not just like a simply smiling face or something. It's a little bit more complicated. And honestly, I think it's pretty ambitious to tackle something like this in a budget figure and a noodle topper at that. Noodle toppers aren't necessarily known to, you know, be super robust. They're just kind of novelty. I mean, they're all figures are novelty figures, but they're, you know, a cheap novelty. So we'll get a closer look at that expression. And so you can see I'll turn her kind of not necessarily how she's supposed to be posed, just so you guys can get a better look at the expression. And I'll talk about the pose here in a second. But yeah, you can see that they did a really good job. One of my favorite things about this figure is that she looks like a goober. You know, she's being really goofy and just doing this silly pose. I always wondered if anyone actually used these for putting on top of their noodles. So I'll talk about the bad points real quick before I go into more of the good points. One of the biggest negative things I have about this figure is the hair, and not because the hair looks bad or anything like that. Yeah, so there, you guys can get a better view of that. So you can even see that she's stationary, but I'm wiggling her hair. So the hair doesn't look bad at all, but it's because how it plugs in It's not super. It doesn't plug in super firmly, so there's a tendency to them for them to kind of come unplugged a little bit and wiggle around. Again, not really a big deal for a budget figure, as we've kind of already established that with this price point, we're gonna, we can forgive some of these type of things. The other thing to point out is some of the paint job. Let me see if I can get a closer look at. There we go. So yeah, you can see on her leg there that there is a little bit of kind of weird paint, and it might not be coming through on the camera, but there's some other areas where there's little specks. I think you can see one on the top of her dress, which again, really not a big deal for the price point that we're talking about. And so let's go into more of the good things. So like I said, one of the really good things I like about it is her expression. I think the sculpt is great. She's in a really cool pose. And honestly, for the tear, like you can see on her fingers there, she does have some pretty good detail. Like I said, I think it's really ambitious to handle at this price point. Like I said in my intro video, a price point isn't necessarily bad. It's just you know kind of what quality what resources the production team has to work with. Another thing I really like, and this might not necessarily be a unique point for this figure, is how it kind of blends into the surrounding. Her dress kind of drapes over whatever surface you put her on, which I think is really neat. It's a really neat little touch. Now, another thing to consider with this figure is you really can only pose it in one direction. Or in one way, I should say. She always needs to be on the ledge of something, otherwise it's going to end up kind of raising her up, and I can show you what I mean. So yeah, it'll raise her up like that, and it just kind of looks awkward. You could pose her that way if you wanted to, but it's something that if I were to see it, every time I would look at it, it would kind of irritate me. Yeah, see, and I have to fangle with the hair every time I do this. So as a little bonus, that's most of it for this figure. It's pretty straightforward. She's a cheaper figure. I really like her. I would highly recommend picking it up if you're thinking about it, because it's you really can't go wrong with the price we're talking about here. But as a bonus, I want to throw in another figure that kind of looks like she blends into whatever area she's in. And you have to forgive me, it's been a long time since I've watched this, but she's from the Monogatari series. And see, she just kind of like sulks in the corner, and I believe it's the first season. Like, she does this throughout the whole first season. So you can just kind of put her in a corner, or I like to put her on my bookshelf so that if I'm looking at books, she's just kind of like hanging out there. And I think it's really really funny. Alright, well that's all for this video. I'll put up another video if you guys want to watch it that I've done. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more of my collection, please like and subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Alright, bye-bye.